and engagement with those seeking the truth regarding the similarities and differences between the religion of politics and the politics of religion.
Well, by getting on Larry King and telling everybody I'm a Christian and I wasn't raised in a Muslim home.
Americans have Muslims in their families or have lived in a Muslim majority country. I know because I am one of them. As a boy, I spent several years in Indonesia and heard the call of the azan at the break of dawn. But I have known Islam on 3 continents before coming to the region where it was first revealed. That experience guides my conviction.
And lest we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ.
At what point does a baby get human rights, in your view?
Well, I think that whether you're looking at it from a theological perspective or a scientific perspective, answering that question with specificity, is above my pay grade. I've got 2 daughters, 9 years old and 6 years old. I'm going to teach them, first of all, about values and morals. But if they make a mistake, I don't want them punished with a baby. As long as we've got to fight to make sure women have access to quality, affordable health care, and as long as we've got to fight to protect a woman's right to make her own choices about her own health, I want you to know that you've also got a president who's going to be right there with you, fighting every step of the way. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. God bless you. Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is. We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
And now, your host, Jon Matthews.
Well, hey, how are we doing out there in Radio Land? Once again, this is Joe Hakos. Jon Matthews is out gallivanting all over the countryside somewhere, so if you see him, say, hey, we missed him here on the show. He needs to come back. No, actually, John is out on vacation, so I'm sure he's having a fun time and a good time. So we should probably just leave him alone, let him go ahead and do that. John will be back next week here on the Conservative Syndicate. So we should just enjoy the fact that he's out having fun and relaxing right now. Hey, but Robert Cordoza from Robert Cordoza Live will be here in just a few minutes on his Wednesday kind of regular scheduled time here, so that's a good thing. So at least some things are staying kind of as normal can be here on the Conservative Syndicate. I'm not even going to talk about the things that could go wrong. That way I don't call in the gremlins to come and mess with us today. So again, Joe Hakos here, having a good time. We were talking about some of the silliness, Tom Brady. I'm not going to do that again. But anyway, and then I was finishing up the last hour with we was talking about the Baltimore mayor calling for a federal investigation, Department of Justice investigation into our own police force, which it's her police force. I'm assuming that she can probably do with it what she will, and she has, and but there's it seems just one thing. There's something that keeps gnawing at me with all this. And this couldn't come across what it might be, and with all the same thing, and it just really was gnawing at me. Whether it be Ferguson, the guy up in New York being losing his life over the single cigarettes, the guy in Charleston, Mr. Gray in Baltimore, all this stuff, and then the reaction to it all, and that was really bothering me about it, and then the quote-unquote leadership in the black community that would come out and would be like, what is up with these guys? This is not what I would figure would be going on now in 2015. And then I recall reading something a few years ago, and I found it again in the American Vision website, and it's an article by Gary Lamar. And it's entitled Booker T. Washington on Black Victimhood. Okay, it's Booker T. Washington, not Booker T. and EMG. It's Booker T. Washington, people. So let's keep this straight. So let me just cover this, because this is a nice short little piece here, and I think it kind of hits home. And when this was written, this article was written in October of 2011, so it's fairly dated. But what Booker T. Washington, when he wrote it, was in 1911. All right, so it's quite profound what he was writing back then. So let's just get into it before Robert gets in here, and he might want to talk about something else. So let me get into this thing. So black racists are coming out of the woodwork. Remember, this is 2011. Or black racists are coming out of the woodwork. It's hard to imagine how vile and bigoted they are in their attacks on Herman Cain. This is Herman Cain before the 2012 elections. All right. And I would expect the same thing. Dr. Carson expect this, because the same sort of stuff's probably going to happen again. So this is kind of more foretelling than anything else. So such treatment has a long history. Today, it's an industry. A number of black leaders, quote unquote, Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton, specifically mentioned here, have made their living by promoting black victimhood while white guilt. Jesse Jackson has been shaking down corporations with the scam for decades. Booker T. Washington, who lived from 1865 to 1915, warned of such people within the black community in his 1911 book, My Larger Education. So if you want to probably find that, you probably can. He described them as problem profiteers. Quote, and this is off of page 118 of his book. There is another class of colored people who make a business of keeping the troubles, the wrongs, and the hardships of the Negro race before the public. Having learned that they are able to make a living out of their troubles, they have grown into the settled habit of advertising their wrongs, partly because they want sympathy and partly because it pays. Some of these people do not want the Negro to lose his grievances, because they do not want to lose their jobs. Seems to be a bit apropos. Just think what would happen to Jesse and Dear L if they had to actually go out and earn a living. Yeah. And what Al's doing on that network is not earning a living. Just saying. Washington could have had in view, although writing nearly 100 years ago, black people who are railing against Herman Cain and other blacks who have not succumbed to the plantation living. Cain doesn't have to present himself as a victim, and this disturbs people like Al Sharpton. Cain lived at a time when there were colored water fountains, segregated schools and neighborhoods, and racial discrimination that few people today can imagine. And that's absolutely correct. So, Dr. Carson, look out. If anyone has a right to play the victim card, it's Cain. He didn't feel sorry for himself. He stayed out of trouble. He worked hard and made something of himself without the help of the cadre of poverty pimps. Cain is the antithesis of the Democratic Party and 90% of the blacks who support it. Washington continues with a story that encapsulates what is wrong with so many black leaders and their guilt-ridden white supporters. Those victimizing blacks are other blacks. He writes, a story told to me by a colored man in South Carolina will illustrate how people sometimes get into situations where they do not like to part with their grievances. In a certain community, there was a colored doctor of the old school who knew little about the modern ideas of medicine, but who, in some way, had gained the confidence of the people, and he had made considerable money by his own particular methods of treatment. In this community, there was an old lady who happened to be pretty well provided with the world's goods and who thought that she had a cancer. For 20 years, she had enjoyed the luxury of having this old doctor treat her for that cancer. As the old doctor became, thanks to the cancer and to other practice, pretty well to do, he decided to send one of his boys to medical college. After graduating from the medical school, the young man returned home, and his father took a vacation. During this time, the old lady, who was afflicted with the quote-unquote cancer, called the young man who treated her. Within weeks, the cancer, or what was supposed to be the cancer, disappeared, and the old lady declared herself well. When the father of the boy returned and found the patient on her feet and perfectly well, he was outraged. He called the young man before him and said, "My son, I find that you have cured that cancer case of mine. Now, son, let me tell you something. I educated you on that cancer. I put you through high school, through college, and finally through medical school on that cancer. And now you, with your new ideas of practicing medicine, have come here and cured that cancer. Let me tell you, son, you have started all wrong. How do you expect to make a living practicing medicine in that way?" I'm afraid that there is a certain class of race problem solvers who don't want the patient to get well, because as long as the disease holds out, they have not only an easy means of making a living, but also an easy medium through which to make themselves prominent before the public. And he writes, "If the patient gets well, an entire industry of victimhood will get cancer and die. This would be the best thing for the ballot community. Until blacks throw off the shroud of victimhood, they would be at the mercy of doctors who treat cancer that does not exist, but that they are paying for it." Seems very apropos. This was 2011. Booker T. Washington wrote that 1911, over 100 years ago. You can do the math, but as you can see, it's very apropos. And I do believe we have Robert on the air. Robert, I welcome you to the Conservative Syndicate.
Hey, Joe, thank you. You know what? This is going to be nice because I think you and I are going to get to talk bad about John for an hour here.
We would never do that.
Oh, you know what? Never admit it anyway.
Yes. Okay, fine.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am trying to mosey along, and I'm trying to muddle up John's show so he'll never take vacation again.
Well, you know what? I don't think it's possible. I think you are such an articulate young fellow that it's going to go quite well for you.
I don't know. We'll see. It's not over yet.
Hey, you know what? I was going to talk to you a little bit about the economy today, and I had a good friend of mine send me this thing on estate planning, Joe. And I thought I'd just pass it by you real quick if we got a minute or two.
That would be great. I don't mind that at all.
Okay, you're gonna appreciate this. And it's titled Estate Planning, and it says, "A man was telling his buddy, 'You won't believe what happened last night. My daughter walked into the living room and said, "Dad, cancel my allowance, throw away all my clothes, and take my iPhone and laptop. In addition, please take all of my jewelry to the Salvation Army and do not pay off my college tuition loan. Then sell my car, take my front door key away from me, and lock me out of your house. Then disown me and never talk to me again. And don't forget to write me out of your will and leave my share to anyone that you choose." "Holy smokes," replied the friend. "She actually said that?" The father replied, "Well, she didn't put it in quite like that. What she said was, 'Dad, meet Mohammed, my new boyfriend. We're going to work together on Hillary's 2016 election campaign.'"
Yeah, I can see that conversation happening. Yes. Yeah, that is an estate planning kind of thing, isn't it?
It really is.
Oh,
and, I can see the logic in that, can't you, Joe?
I can find a lot of logic in that. It'd be like, yes. Well, yeah, truly, I wouldn't know how to act there. That's just. I'm glad you brought it out here today for us, Robert. Hey, tell you what, we're going to break for a little break so you can get ready for the topic that you really want to talk to us about, and then we'll cover it as much as we need to for the next however long it takes for us to do it. How's that?
Sounds great.
All right. So, folks, Joe Hakos, Robert Cordoza from Robert Cordoza Live here on the Conservative Syndicate, and we'll be right back after this short break.
You can catch all our show archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative